Welcome, everyone, back to a conversation with Linda Lang and Michelle Aubin. And we have a podcast. We discuss different topics each time that relate to healing and consciousness and energy and all kinds of fun stuff. And so I'm going to turn it over to Linda so she can introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. This is Linda Lang, and it's my pleasure to be here with you and with Michelle. Some people might call me an energy healer or a shaman or an alchemist. I find it really difficult to describe myself because I believe that everyone heals themselves, even if we need to reach out to someone who is a healer or has healing skills. So that's my introduction for today. You can find out more about me on my website. It's thoughtchange.com. And we can explore today a wonderful topic that Michelle has chosen.
I'm just going to phrase it as an open ended question. Are there healing approaches that are more empowering or less empowering than others? The reason I came across this question is because I was listening to someone on YouTube who had been trained in a certain healing modality, and he stopped using this modality because it brought in an external energy to the person, and he felt that that was a very disempowering thing to do. So now he doesn't do that. He critiques that modality. And that was the video that I was watching. And I don't take sides because I was never trained in that modality. But I think it's a very interesting question about when we go to someone who helps us with energy or bringing in energy. And is that different than other ways of working with energy, let's say, where maybe we help balance the energy? So I don't know if that's a very subtle distinction or what, and I'm just going to kind of propose it as a springboard for us today. So what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that that is a loaded topic, Michelle. And the first thing I'd like to say for everyone is that they really have to listen to their own wisdom if something resonates with them. I I tend to like things that bring balance and kind of clear out the old gunk and just let our divinity shine through. That being said, I also channel energy. I'm a third level Reiki initiate, a third level Huna initiate, and I channel the diamond ray as well. So that's all universal consciousness that comes through. So I personally have had a challenging experience with an energy modality that I would no longer touch. And I know lots of other people love it, but it really kind of messed me up. And I remember also when I took the Yuan training, the trainer that came to our city and trained us, I've had all the levels of Yuan. He used to do a different modality as well, and he found that it really messed people up because they would just take out chunks of energy and put it in black holes, or they would call in the energy of something else from a limited perspective of what they were receiving. And so he used the Yuan method to kind of clear their energy. So we are kind of in our infancy. There is something to this conversation. I'd love to hear what you've got to say about it before I go on and on.
I love your response because it's telling me that this is a very ripe field for discussion, and also you and I are discussing it from a certain level of agreement that humans were made up of energy, not just physical. So we're coming from a certain assumptions. There are a lot of healers now these days online. It's a very exciting time, and there's programs I've listened to with all kinds of DNA activations and all kinds of initiations. And there was a time when I was very excited by all of this. It was like I felt like a kid in a candy store. And now 20 years ago, I also took part in an energy program, training program. I've since pulled away from it. I'm not going to name it online, but I've since sort of pulled away from it because it had this idea that we're bringing in something that we are lacking. And there was something in that I started to become aware of, didn't sit right with me, because in my healing journey, I've become very sensitive to the idea that we're lacking anything is a detrimental thought. Instead, I'm working to love myself completely, accept everything, and to sort of pull out any of these little thought weeds, I'll call them, of, I'll go back to this idea of original sin. I was raised Catholic. That's a really good example that, like, you're born with a problem. Anything that smacks of that to me now, I'm really cautious about. So I've become more sensitive to all of these trainings I listen to online or audio programs or summits, telesummits. I'm excited by DNA activation, but if somebody's going to bring in an energy and I don't know what that is, I'm a little bit cautious now. I become much more discerning of what are they doing, what are they saying about who I am or who we are. So I liked your answer because there may not be a simplistic answer, but I think it's a fertile discussion.
I don't think there is a simple answer. My world tends to be pretty gray instead of black and white. But I would like to say I really like the expression you used, thought weeds. I love that. I think that's great. Although I probably would say that we plant our own thought weeds for the most part, really, in our own minds with our thinking. One of the things I would like to really point out here is that I personally believe there is a divine plan. So even though things may be very difficult, or we get such incredible teachings from these experiences that we shake our head at, why on earth did we do it? That experience I had, I was taking training in a particular modality, and it really made changes to me. For the first week, I was ecstatic. And I did a lot of sessions. I think in 1 month, I did probably like 40 sessions on people. And the first week, I was like, this is fabulous. I'm going to throw out all my other techniques and just do this. And the second week, I didn't care about anyone that came. It was like, oh, this is really boring. And then the third week, that continued. The fourth week, I realized that I was no longer able to ground through my root chakra, that there was actually a hook that bypassed and went to the second chakra instead of the root. I was working with someone, it was like, oh my God, I'm not even grounded. And I couldn't ground myself. I had to run upstairs and grab my grounding mat and stand on it to work on that person. And it's like my radar really went up that, something is definitely going on here. And I did a little bit more research on this modality, and I didn't like what I was discovering. So I ended up having to go to another healer and have all the little hooks taken out of my consciousness to totally remove the whole process of its rewiring for me, just completely out of my system.
So your energy system was actually rewired.
It was in the process of being rewired. There were little hooks in my brain that were kind of changing how I thought about things, which, I do thought change work. I don't have a problem with having new neural pathways. However, when you come from a place of lacking compassion or higher up, as I discovered, there was a lot of focus on mind control and manipulation. That really didn't sit well with me personally, so I don't touch it with a 10-foot pole, really.
They were teaching you how to mind control other people?
When you go further on in the process, they do. At the
Hmm.
beginning levels, they don't. They don't. It's more about how, it's more about your energy system and your mind as well. And there were some good things in that modality, and yet you've got a problem if you can't ground.
Well, good for you for being aware that there was something off
Yeah.
and that you caught it and were able to find someone to help you undo what was done. Because I imagine that there are people that are in that modality that don't feel that there is anything off base and that they've
Probably.
progressed through it.
I'm sure that's true. And whether that's specifically just for me and it's okay for them, or whether, there's kind of something fishy going on and they're just not aware. I mean, who am I to say, really? I just know that there was a definite huge learning curve for me through that experience. And it really showed me just how powerful we are, how real energy is. And on a bonus side, I knew immediately I had to jump into Huna. So that happened just before I went to Hawaii for level 1 Huna. And I just didn't want to have that lack of clarity ever again, really.
It's a great story. I mean, you dealt with it from a very empowered place and very self-aware place. Again, as I look back on my journey throughout my whole life of being open-minded when it comes to holistic approaches and things, that I'm still enthusiastic and more excited than ever, especially when I talk to you, Linda, people like you that are as excited as I am. And I think that the more I learn that there's a need for discernment, and not from a fear place, and it's not an equivalency that if this modality was a problem, then all energy modalities are a problem. Not that at all. But just that, just like if you were going to go to a surgeon, you would want to talk to a few surgeons and see which one you resonate with and who might have a good track record. I'm just getting to that point of realizing, like you said, how powerful we are and how we need to be in tune with who we are. I stopped doing individual sessions with people for hypnosis because what happened was I had a few people, not everybody, but a few people come to me a few months after a very successful session or a couple of sessions and say, "Oh, it stopped working." Some version of that. "Oh, the issue was okay, and now I can't seem to make, progress." And I would respond by saying, "Are you doing your daily?" I give them an assignment to do a daily 15 or 10 minutes even of self-hypnosis to maintain whatever it is. Oh no, they're not. So in that dynamic, I came to understand they were disempowering themselves. If what I'm structuring is not helping them incorporate a daily practice of empowerment, I need to do that, right? That's my goal. My goal is not to be someone that they have to keep coming to, for the rest of their life for the same issue. Maybe different issues, maybe they need some hand holding when something is new, but my goal is to have people understand their power. That's my goal.
There are many, many people I found on my journey that either have no understanding of energy work and what's possible, or they expect poof magic. Their issue is completely gone without any effort on their part except really for showing up. And life isn't like that. Someone can't do your work for you. I mean, we can unblock things energetically. We can bring awarenesses through hypnosis or other techniques, but it's what you do with it, right? You can always reconnect with that issue and kind of plug it back in. Doesn't mean the healing didn't work.
Right. Nobody can do your push-ups for you. If you want the muscles, they can tell you what exercise to do, but you have to actually be the one doing the push-up. So why does that, not translate when it comes to energy work, when it comes to, anything else? And so we're sort of on a little bit of a tangent, which is about empowerment and realizing your own power. The initial question was about bringing in something from the universe or from outside of us, and whether that's helpful or not. So I think they're related and yet a little bit different. And I just loved your answer and your story and the idea of not giving away parts of ourselves energetically.
Yeah, you really have to make sure you're in resonance. Einstein's quote that the problem can't be solved in the same energy that it was created. So, that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it, if there really is only just God and we're just a cell in the body of God, then is there an issue that way? I really think it has to do with resonance and knowing yourself. I think that's one of the primary reasons we're here, is to experience and to know ourselves in all kinds of different situations. And one of the things my guides have often told me is it's about the experience. It's not about the end result. It's about the experience. You're taking your power by deciding what techniques you want to use, what energies you want to work with, who you want to work with. And even simply by making that firm choice, you're already standing in your power and learning about yourself. And if you choose something that isn't in resonance, you've learned something. So I'm kind of looking at it like that. I think I've learned my lesson with that energy experience that I've had, and I am more careful about who I work with and what we do.
Well, I liked your idea that if we are all cells in the body of God, which I do believe, and so we are fractals, which would mean we have everything already within us that we just need to remember or be shown, which doesn't mean we can't benefit from some other type of energy coming in that we may have forgotten we have access to, is one way to think about it. I've started to be clear on what I give consent to and what I don't in my energy. I do a lot of healing with my guides, and what I will do is say, I allow for the highest expression of love in this healing session with my guides, or whoever's going to help me with this issue. I only allow for those who are connected to divine source to help me, because I started to realize that that's important. I don't just want anyone tinkering with me, even if they're from, the realms of energy and non-physical. I only want the ones that are highest of the highest love to have access to me.
Absolutely. I totally agree. In fact, when I start a healing session, I ask for permission on an energetic level as well, because sometimes that person is consciously there. They're giving their permission, but maybe there's some stuff going on that it isn't in their highest interest to actually be working on right away. The one thing that did pop in when you were talking, Michelle, is that I'd really encourage people, because I mean, this is like a little two-edged sword going on here, right? It
Mm-hmm.
could be looked at as being, unsafe or negative, and that's really not the message at all I want to put across, or that, my guidance comes through for me. It's really more about the energy of exploration, that we get to experience more things and find out what resonates with us. But if you come across anything that indicates or tells you that you're broken or that you're lacking in something or you need to be fixed, right then and there, even if that's how you feel, I would really encourage people to really think twice about stepping into any kind of healing work that's presented from that point of view.
Thank you for saying that. I think that you framed this very well, because this is partly why I wanted to bring it up today, because I think it's so rich. Your summary just now was so beautiful. We're not broken, even when we feel that we are. Yes, I have felt that way, but yeah, we are not broken.
If you feel broken, my biggest advice would be to start doing your own work, right?
Yep,
Clear out some of that gunk, whether it's
yep.
with a healer or a counselor of some sort, journaling even, however you want to do it. You've got to clear out all that heavy, unresolved stuff, and then you're going to see the beautiful soul that lives there, that's there underneath all of it.
Beautifully said, Linda. Thanks for joining me in this playful exploration. This was a great topic.
Yeah, and it was really interesting having it off the cuff like that.
Yeah, we'll see what pops in to one of our minds to bring to the other one. With that, I think we are ready to wrap up, and we thank you for joining us this week, and you can reach us on Facebook. I look forward to our next session together.
As always, a pleasure, Michelle. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Bye-bye.